Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, November 3rd. Um, Definitely a big day. You guys know what's going down today. Election.
Election day.
We're not gonna be talking about that today, though. I'm joined. It's me and Steph again, back at it for our second podcast. Excited to be here. We have a very prevalent topic for today. Something that we've been dealing with for most of 2020, which is quarantining.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about how specifically us as Catholics have been quarantining and the things that have changed for us, both negatively and positively. And just later on, we'll talk about how to basically do quarantine better as Catholics. So, one thing for me that I really miss is normal mass. I don't know. I know that different cities are doing it all different. There's different capacities and depending on what state you're in. But we're in New Brunswick and the capacity for mass I think is like 30 people.
I think it's 100, but we never really hit 100, so we don't know necessarily.
Okay.
It's because like you can have like certain families and stuff, so it's like there's amount of
Oh,
parties.
30 parties.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it
like
is.
30 parties, but like I think the total is like 100 something.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our mass is they have a sign-up sheet and you receive communion at the end of mass and you just all walk out. And in the beginning of quarantine, they weren't even doing mass, which was, I know that was hard for everyone.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. I got my parish at home in Bayonne actually let me. Well, they didn't let me. They asked me to film for them, so I was actually able to go to mass throughout quarantine. The original quarantine, the bad part where everybody actually stayed home. But mass now is still very different. I don't know, Lucas, do you like feel the same way? Is it?
Well, I mean, whenever I have my mask on, I always just feel like I understand why, but I always just my comfort level is always just like not as much there. So that, and then also like I love during mass when it's just like, like you're greeting everyone, like you're shaking their hand, hugging everyone, but now it's just like distance, like waves. And also prayer after receiving, it's always like so powerful, and that's like one of my favorite parts of mass. But now like once you receive, you just leave.
You have like 10 seconds before you get out of the church.
Yeah, and then like praying, like you're kneeling before you receive, and they're like getting everything ready and set up and everything. But it's just not the same like when you're praying without receiving before compared to after you receive. There's just a certain just like fruit, and just I don't know. I feel like I'm more went throughout my prayer. So that's definitely been, I guess, rough. I mean, it's been fine, but it's definitely something that I miss of old mass for sure.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts too, is post-Eucharist prayer is so powerful. It's like 10 minutes of just, I don't know, like your heart is just really fully there. And yeah, with the masks during mass, I definitely feel more isolated. And like, people can't really see me, I can't really see them, I can't touch them. And for good reason, like we don't want to get sick, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a lonelier experience, and we're a community, so that's really hard for, I think, the Catholic community as a whole, is to experience mass as a less of a communion physically. But my home parish at church, my home parish, Mount Carmel, the church is doing communion at the correct time, like normally, but the music is also really shortened now because there's no songbooks because of Corona. So they don't play long songs. So even prayer after communion is shortened because they do like a verse of music and everybody just like goes up super quick and there's not that many people at mass. So even if we were receiving it at the correct time, it's still not as good.
Yeah, I got you. And I guess like leading in after that, the Eucharist, something that I've been missing a lot is adoration. I remember in the beginning half of quarantine, I think it was like 2 months into it, and then it was over a Zoom call where we had adoration, and that was like the first time like I saw like Jesus in like 2 months, and I literally started tearing up because I was like, wow, I forgot how powerful this really is. Even over like a computer, like I was still able to feel just like his strength, which so it was that's definitely been something missing a lot. But
yeah, adoration's huge. Just
yeah.
It's such a beautiful experience, and luckily they brought it back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
for a few hours. I can't make it because I'm working at that time, but it is what it is. I was on one of those Zoom calls for adoration,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that was super encouraging was just the thought that, okay, I am not in the same room as Jesus right now. I'm on a Zoom call. I'm in Bayonne, and he is in New Brunswick. But at every moment in my day, he's somewhere on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is celebrating Mass. Someone is doing overnight adoration. He's there.
Yeah.
And that was just like super encouraging, because if he is transcendent of space and time, then he is in my bedroom. It was just very nice to think about. Definitely still not the same as being in a chapel, but
Yeah.
it's better than nothing, you know?
Wow.
But another huge thing that I miss is just general socialization.
Yeah, for sure. I know for like some of my friends, so their like comfort levels just with all of this situation, I have not been able to like see them nearly as much as I would see them week to week, and now it's a once every 2 months kind of style. Even this like upcoming weekend, like we have we're gonna celebrate one of my friends like parties for like the birthday, and the only reason I'm able to go is because I've been quarantined for the past 2 weeks and I've been tested negative. But otherwise, like if I did go, I would have to be like 6 feet apart, socially distant the whole time. And so just socializing as a whole, it's definitely nice to like be able to be in a house where we're all living together, so that like huge social aspect. But just as a whole, like it's so much smaller and it's condensed, which it's not all bad. It's just it gives a different vibe as a whole, just compared to like when you're doing something with 10 people compared to when you're doing something with like 30 people, you know. Just like like CC nights, for example, like you see the same exact faces almost every single time, and it's just this general like, oh, I already know what's going on in your life, and that's good. Like you're deepening in that stuff, but I also I love meeting people, and it's been just so much harder to meet people as a whole, which has definitely been something that I don't know. It's not. I don't say it like bothers me, but I miss. I love hearing people's life stories because it's so personal, and I miss like hearing more newer life stories I've never like heard before. For sure.
Yeah, new people. I miss it. It's so good. And you're really lucky to live in a house with 6 other guys.
6 other guys.
6 other guys. Right now, I only have one of my roommates home, and there's normally 4 of us, but it's just us 2 right now because of the whole flare-up of COVID in November. So I'm alone all the time in my house, and that's definitely been really difficult, mostly because it's boring, but also because I can feel myself starting to not want to go to social events, even that are like the ones that are online, just because I'm getting so used to the alone time. And I know that's like happening with a bunch of people. It's like, oh, they're home all the time and they're alone. And so even the social events that are happening, that are on Zoom, that are in person, there's no desire to go, even though we need it.
Yeah.
We need a social aspect in our life. But another aspect of this whole lack of social time is physical affection with people. Like, I feel so awkward now when I see my friends. Like, do I go in for a hug? Do I stay 6 feet away from you? Do you just, like, not want me to touch you? I don't ever know. I feel like everybody should have, like, an index card. They're like, look at this. These are my rules. These are my personal contact rules. But it's not. So it's a lot of just, I think, confusion on both ends. But I really do miss hugging people and getting 12 touches a day. It's not happening. And it's really hard because you, like, notice the accumulation of your lack of physical touch.
For sure.
It's not helpful.
Yeah. I think, so, I mean, I'm a big hugger, but also just, like, handshakes, too. I can't remember the last person I shook the last time I shook someone's hand. Like, I've dabbed someone up, but I don't remember, like, I don't know, like, it's a professional thing. You go and you'll shake someone's hand, like, when you're first meeting them, and then I can't remember the last time I did that, which, I don't know, it's, like, it's so weird, because you're just taught as this is just such a common gesture, and just, like, practice to just go up to someone you meet and shake their hand, as now I'll just be like, wait.
It makes the
like
initial interaction so much weirder.
Yeah, like, the comfort level, like, a handshake says so much, and so it's like all of it as a whole just feels this instant awkwardness, and it's definitely been feeling that one.
That's a great description of what's happening with the social instant awkwardness.
Instant awkwardness, yeah, and also, like, it's been really, and I know last week I think we broke the record with the most cases in a day in the U.S. I think we hit 98,000 one day.
Where?
In the U.S.
As a whole.
As a whole in the country, which is our top since everything else started. So we're not...
It's not ending.
Yeah, it's not ending, which is really sad. But...
on a positive note,
yeah,
there are so many good things to have come out of this. One being the extra time that everybody has. I don't know if you have extra time. Maybe you have less time.
Maybe
I mean... I know that in the beginning of this, I had extra time. I don't anymore, but in the beginning, I had all of this time to just, like, sit and do whatever the heck I wanted. I planned my day out the way that I wanted it. I had extra time to spend with my family, my dog. I had extra time to work out and pray and sleep enough. That was a huge one for me. I actually got 8 hours of sleep consistently for, like, 2 months. It was very impressive. But yeah, that extra time aspect of just being able to pick up a new hobby. I started watercoloring. There's so many opportunities in the beginning of this. And there still are, because if you really think about it, there is more time in your day. Like, we're not traveling. Like, there are no Rutgers buses. There's no need to be on a Rutgers bus. My classes are shorter than normal, except one. If any professors are listening, you need to stop. 1 hour and 20 minutes, that's your max. But... There's more time in the day, and that's been really great.
For sure, like if we were taking buses, a lot of times that adds. So this would be like every single time for my major, I've been on every single campus, and so I had a ton of bus travel time, which would be factor into like 2 hours at least of travel time. And now, like, I don't know, now 2 hours. Oh, I can go on a run, take a shower, pray. I mean.
Exactly.
Whatever, like, it's this more just, like, time as a whole on top of, you know, you have your travel time, but also there's just, like, less things to do. There's, like, less events with the socializing aspect. There's not as much of that, so it's time to get, like, creative with the social events. And something that at least around in our community, Among Us. I mean, that's been very popular for a lot of people, but you know, we get on Discord and we have a group of 10 almost pretty consistently, and it's actually been a way that when we see each other once every week, we're actually not go and be like, oh, how was your week? But we have already been talking with each other because we're over Discord and playing a game, but still just appreciating and enjoying, which actually has been really good.
Yeah, it introduces a lot of different type of socialization, which has been really
Yeah.
nice. It really, I think it's made everybody a little more creative in how that they interact with people.
For sure.
And also, the sacraments are actually really still powerful. Adoration is, like, when I go to adoration, I appreciate it so much more. And while Mass is, there are things I wish were different. I wish I could shake people's hands. The fact that we have Mass and people show up, I think, is really beautiful.
Yeah. Totally agree. And then, at least for me, like reconciliation with confession, I remember just like right after quarantine, like true like quarantine ended, it was like a while before like I even had confession after that. But once I started and like got out, I was going to confession like once like every week or every other week. And that, like, I've never done that in my life before. Like, before it would be once a month, and that's when I'm doing well with confession. But it was just this greater, hey, I'm like carrying on to more. And it was just like, through quarantine, it like revealed, hey, you're actually holding on to these things really hard. And so through that, it's really made me appreciate even deeper, just like that sacrament for sure. And also receive it for sure. One true gift, and I'm so blessed with this, like with the family time and everything. I actually have deepened my like talking about faith with my parents. Every single Sunday. So my parents live in Prague, so I don't see them in person. So in quarantine, I was by myself. But every single Sunday, every single Sunday we call each other. We still do it now, which is actually, so even after quarantine has ended, we call each other every Sunday, and we go over the readings of the Mass.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
And we just talk about it. And so it's like I've been able to show deeper like what spiritually I've learned. I'm able to learn more through them, and actually just not just like bringing like a spiritual aspect to it, but it's actually deep in just like talk about what's actually going on in their life, because I'm so bad at calling people, but this is like, so I know they're okay too. It's there's been a lot, like it's a huge fruit, and like it's actually been really good and healing for my family because of quarantine, which crazy.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of additional tension, but that's really nice to hear, like a story where, oh, you guys actually like created a better relationship for yourselves.
Yeah.
I know that, like you mentioned, there's time to like think about and introspect about things that you're still holding on to, and that's definitely been huge for me. Like there's nothing new, not much new coming up, so there's so much time to think about, okay, why am I still like this if nothing is triggering it? Obviously I need to go back and evaluate my life and see what happened and where I need healing. And by being able to do that, I think I've also been able to have this new relationship with my family. I've been a lot more bold with them, where we never were the family to talk about our faith. Like we said grace, and my parents raised me beautifully Catholic. Like I thank them every day. Like I'm not Catholic. I'm Catholic because of them. But we weren't the family to openly share about the Lord's really touching me in this way. And I've been really graced with a little bit more boldness to do that with them. And that's been really beautiful, because I also notice specifically my father really stepping out and getting deeper in his faith, because of there's just been changes in his life because of COVID. And it's really just beautiful to see how through this, it's actually bringing a lot of people closer to God. And for whatever reason, he has permitted this, and I'm really grateful that this happened, because like you see how people have changed and how they've gotten better, and just like how much more at peace they are. And it's just such a wonderful thing to witness in another person.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then just like with the self looking at and just realizing I something that I think quarantine it's peeled back like I love distracting myself with just like my daily life and busyness. I'm a huge busy bee. I I get bored so easily. I put stuff always in front of me just to like put my mind to, and it's actually had to make me relax and just like sit and actually just like and like just like look in, which is not I I never did that like ever. Like I mean, I'm a very outward person. I
Mm-hmm.
think out loud. I like huge extrovert, and then it was like a moment of just like, hey, actually, this is something you need to work on. And stripping it back brought it more to light. I'm just like, oh wow, this is actually. I thought I got through with this. Like I thought I like beat this battle, and then it was just like, like the quiet before the war kind of thing, where
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like you think you beat the battle, but then all of a sudden, bah, you get slapped, and you're like, well, we're back and fighting again, because it's it hasn't been totally won.
Yeah,
And
because you've substituted it with noise in your life.
exactly.
You partially healed, but then you threw some like YouTube in there
Yeah,
and friends,
it
new friends.
totally got it. But yeah, so that's actually it's been really good, and I know it's actually from it's been really hard for. It's definitely a slap to the face. It can be, or it can be actually like, wow, actually I've been living in a really like I like how I've been like living. I if I did this without my faith like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was, been out strong, I definitely think this would be so much harder. Um, and like all those who are going through this, who don't have like the faith to rely back on, I mean they're like always in my prayers because I'm just like I can't even imagine how difficult that is. To know that, you know, we're not in control, but it's gonna be that's okay
Yeah,
because everything says that that's not okay. Every like people who don't have the faith are not doing great.
right. And
Um,
they don't have the desire to be introspective and to really like enjoy the quiet of like this gift of boredom we've basically been given.
yeah,
And it is a gift, but our society is so built around distraction. Like look here and look here. So I can see how it can be really hard for some people to not have that. But Lucas, COVID definitely been good on a emotional aspect,
yeah,
right? A lot of pain in it, but there have been graces throughout the whole thing. But there are definitely things we could do that make it better.
for sure.
And I'm just wondering, like, have you found anything that has helped you, or do you want to try something new?
Man,
It's a heavy question.
have I found anything new? I've found that I've turned a lot more to reading. I'm not a big reader at all, but I've turned a lot more to reading scripture. I'm currently reading the Book of Sirach, and I think I'm on chapter 43, so almost finished with it. But yeah, I've definitely been reading more, and then I also like there's this certain like appreciation. So I'm big on like relationships, and I mean like friendships mostly, like brotherhood and that kind of stuff, and just like with interaction of people. Um, I take my interactions a lot more granted, and so when I'm talking to someone, I've always tried to be authentic, but I'm even more, bringing up about like my faith life. I'm talking about what's going on with there. So it's not necessarily thing I've been like focusing on, but it's just like an indirect fruit of like, you know, I don't know when I'm gonna talk with you again, And so I want to be as real with you right now as I can be. And that's definitely like something that has been more prevalent within my life recently. I don't know other things I'm tackling. Order has definitely been something that has also come to, I guess, light order in my like prayer time, and I'm trying. I haven't been good yet. I am praying, but I have not been good yet with getting an exact prayer time. So that's one still in the works.
Like
but
putting it in your schedule kind of thing at a specific time of day.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm a definitely, all right, we're doing something, let's pray kind of thing. And so it's not like I love praying in the busyness of the day. When busyness is totally changes day to day, but definitely has been a time where it's like, since I am less busy, okay, maybe I should find an exact time, and it is good. It builds a routine. And routines are like very healthy, at least depending on the routine, what the routine is.
Of course.
But routines can be very healthy, and for this for prayer, it would be a really good thing. I think that's most of it. What's going on? How are you, Steph? What have you found?
I've definitely found I'm also reading more. That's been such a gift because I also don't like reading. But I've been picking up some good spiritual books. But I'm also noticing that I'm still trying to fill the boredom with noise. I'm still trying to, when I'm home alone in the evening and there's no one to hang out with, I'm just like, I'll watch a movie. I'll just like lay in bed and do nothing. And I'm trying not to do that because it is a waste of time. And it's not to say like I don't want to watch a movie one night a week, but if it's becoming a habit where I'm watching like a movie a day, I need to not do that. And so that's the thing I'm working on right now, of just not filling the gift of time with something that isn't appreciative of the gift. And so I've been trying to read during those times, or honestly just go to bed earlier and just like get the extra hour of sleep, because that's actually better for me than watching Netflix. But yeah, so that's how I want to improve. Something I have been getting better at is making that time in my day to pray and just like setting that. I wake up and that's what I do, and there's nothing that's going to change that. I work my schedule around it, and that's been such a grace because I've never had that before. I was kind of just like, oh, I'll get to it, and then I just wouldn't get to it because your day is so busy. And I'm an introvert, so I thrive on like silence and nothing happening. So I wake up before my roommates do, and it's just quiet. And that's been really nice for me. I think something that's like the main fruit that's come out of quarantine. But the thing that has made it so much better is the fact that I've been prioritizing that, and desiring like, oh, I need like spiritual food. Like I've been very hungry lately to just like read good books that like just, oh wow, that hit home. I really need to do some introspection with that, or go to mass and hear the homily, go to events online and hear people tell me things that really make me contemplate where I am. Something else I'm trying to really work on right now is being humble in like a new way. I think this whole time the lack of distraction is crazy. Like the ability to see where your flaws are in the quietness of what is happening. There's no one here compared to normal. So there's been stuff coming up, and normally I would just be like, okay, I don't really have time for that right now. I don't have time to deal with my lack of humility. But now I have all of the time in the world. And so I think taking the opportunity that's been presented, normally is presented, but actually like taking it because I have the time for it, taking the time to actually like deal with the problems that the Lord sets before me. That's been really great. So that's how I'm doing quarantine. Just a lot of growth, and that's been honestly, grace upon grace.
Yeah, I mean, we're called to grow constantly. Never settle. I think there's just, if you don't grow within this situation, then it's going to be miserable. So definitely, that's awesome to hear. I'm actually like, that calls me on to grow even more, for sure.
Yeah, so that's our quarantine experience for the
Yeah.
most part. Sorry if everybody's hearing COVID. But just a little funness. My friend the other day called it Caroli, and I thought that was super cute. So if you want a new name, call it Caroli. But yeah, so that's how we're doing quarantine. There's some stuff that we miss, but there's definitely been newness and new creativity and growth in places that we never would have expected, and that's been wonderful.
And for sure, not focusing on it too, because it's good to address because it is something happening, but just because it's happening doesn't mean this is where our attention should go.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think that's a very, like, it's good to have the knowledge, but then, it's better to have focus. And so if that is something to leave with you guys, that is definitely, I think, something that to get from this. Definitely, our focus as Catholics still hasn't changed. It's still on the church, still on God, and it hasn't lost any more importance than it did before. Yeah. So that's everything we have for today. I hope you guys are staying healthy, staying safe. Prayers out for you guys. If you ever want, have any questions, you listening, you want to reach out to us,
Comment.
of course, comment, text us. I feel like most people
would
knows
know who we are.
us. And we would gladly talk about certain questions.
We've got the time for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so that is all we got. So
Thank you for listening.
hope you all have a good one.